transition here, but reason being, is as soon as I start the timer and put a video, uh, hang on a second. Where's my video? Boom. There we go. Okay, so we got something big that happened in the past week. We're starting off with Bungie leaving Activision, or the split per se. This comes from Kotaku.com, written by Jason Schreier. Developer Bungie and publisher Activision are splitting up in an industry-shaking divorce that will see the shared world shooter series Destiny enter fully into Bungie's control. This development comes after years of tension between two companies, tension that has existed since before the first Destiny even shipped. Bungie, the studio that created and has led development on the franchise, told employees during a team meeting this afternoon, framing it's a fantastic news for a studio that has long grown sick of dealing with its publishers. Employees cheered and popped champagne, according to one person who was there. Quote, "We have enjoyed a successful 8-year run and would like to thank Activision for their partnership on Destiny," Bungie said in a blog post today. "Looking ahead, we're excited to announce plans for Activision to transfer publishing rights for Destiny to Bungie. With our remarkable Destiny community, we are ready to publish on our own, while Activision will increase their focus on owned IP projects," unquote. So, what was your initial thoughts when you heard the news, Greg?
I was excited. I mean, we've been doing this podcast since Destiny 1 released.
We have. Yes,
we had a show where we had 5 people on here who hadn't communicated prior to doing the podcast. We all unanimously disliked Destiny 1. As time went on, we had discovered that a lot of the reason that the stuff we did not like about Destiny 1 existed was because of Activision's influence. We had learned that a lot of people like Marty O'Donnell and one of the head writers left Bungie because of Activision. We also learned recently that Marty O'Donnell's kind of a piece of shit, but that's a different story. So to hear that Bungie was leaving Activision, which we would love to hear, like, I don't know, Star Wars, the Star Wars IP leave EA, that would be great. Which we might now because of this, but the fact that Bungie has full rights to the Destiny IP,
that's huge.
That's the bigger one. Bungie leaving Activision, whatever. It's that Bungie now has full IP rights to Destiny, meaning there's a very good chance, Anthony, we will hear about a Destiny 3 at E3 this year. For a 2020 release.
Possibly. Or they can finally come out and say, we had these ideas and ambitions we want to do with the game, but I'm pretty sure they're going to say that we were held back by a company. They'll say something to that line, but...
I disagree.
Do you think they'll say, like, you know, we've been held back and, like, we had some of these ideas and ambitions we want to do, but now we can do them now that we're our own brand, our own company again?
They're going to allude to it.
Okay.
They're not going to say it outright.
Yeah.
And they're not going to say it outright because, you know, you don't do that in this industry.
No.
It does not behoove you to talk shit about your publisher that you left. Like, Bungie would never talk shit about Xbox directly, but they have indirectly. So, I don't think that they're going to do that. They're just going to say, like, you know, but, you know, this is the first Bungie game where we haven't been with a publisher. We're publishing it ourselves. And they're gonna make that crystal fucking clear.
Absolutely. One of the things I heard about Bungie saying is they want to become their own publisher, to publish other games potentially. Which, if they go that route, that would be another interesting route that they could do. So, Bungie is up to pretty much their own man. Like, they can do whatever they want, which is great. I think that because the reason why they were able to keep Destiny is, I think, because Activision didn't see Destiny as a profitable game over the years. They probably look at the numbers, and they were up to standards to Activision's standards to how much money they wanted, and then thinking that Activision, in their mindset, thinking that they can have the game, the IP, because it wasn't worth much to them. That's my line of thinking.
I mean, you're probably not wrong, but you also have to put in perspective on this. Like, think of how much money Bungie was making off of the IP, on top of God, my camera is fucking terrible.
Get a new camera, damn it.
I just don't want to fucking hook up that other one. That's a pain in the ass.
Right.
For a rinky-dink podcast. Sorry, that was rude. I'm looking at it from this perspective. Bungie, they are a big company. They're like the Pixar of the gaming world. You know, like they made 5 dynamite games with Halo. Sure, you could argue like, oh well, the stuff they did before wasn't really that big of a hit. Well, okay, whatever. But Halo was a big hit. Then they move away from that and they make a game with Activision. And I guarantee you there's a lot of money there. How much money did they have to give Activision for the IP to Destiny? How much money are they losing now? Like, there's a lot of, like, money handling situations in this that I don't quite know about. And I'm very curious as to how Bungie's going to work around this. Like, are they going to be okay? Like, is this a huge gamble for them? Like, I want to know this kind of stuff, but there's no information because, companies tend to keep that shit secret, so.
Yeah, we can only assume and just kind of basing off of what numbers we can get our hands on.
I'm a fucking idiot. I completely forgot about my light.
Ah, I see. That helps. While you're doing that, I do want to point out that this definitely leaves Activision in terms of like what did they have now that Bungie kind of split off. Sure, they're still partnered with Blizzard and they can still ride the coattails of that, but in terms of what Activision technically have like in their library, they had the 2 remasters, Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. Outside of that, the games that did they stop Call of Duty? Like, that's still theirs, right?
Hey, look at me, I'm bright now.
Hey!
Yeah, Activision sells Call of Duty. Activision sells a lot. Like, they're not really losing out by losing Destiny. And I think the reason that Activision... Yeah, maybe I'm a little too bright. It's hurting my eyes. Let me put some more paper towel over the...
Don't go towards the light.
No, that's too dark. I'll figure this out, guys.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that... that's better. I think one of the things that Activision... That's the point that I'm getting at, Anthony, when I was mentioning the money thing. That's the part that confuses me, that I'm questioning is who's losing out on money on this one? Like, what happened exactly? Did Activision look at the numbers that that Destiny was bringing in and was like, it's not enough, and then sold the IP for really cheap? Was it a situation where Bungie and Activision just couldn't agree to disagree? There's so many variables that I'm confused about.
I feel like it's all the above, because what I've heard and what I've seen is like Bungie is happy with the sales they've got with Destiny. Like, they're elated with how much Destiny has sold. Activision, the opposite. It's not up to par with them. So, at least from what I've hear say. Take it if you will. Take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
My hope from this, Anthony, my hope is that a lot of other companies who are under publishers that they hate go to the extent of looking to buy their IP back and pull a Bungie. I sincerely hope that this sparks a new time in gaming where we get AAA independent games. And I say that in the grandest scheme. Like, when you think about it from a certain perspective, if Bungie's its own publisher, then technically Destiny 3 would be an indie game.
That is very true. Here's something that was thrown out that I think would be a huge get. You know how the past couple weeks we've been talking about how Epic's online store and how they're been trying to get game companies, and recently Ubisoft joining the fray? Mm-hmm. What if they get Bungie, now that Bungie is no longer with Activision?
That would be big for Epic, not so much Bungie. That would be bigger for Epic than Bungie.
I think both, because again, if you look at Epic, they have the whole Fortnite following that is going to follow them to their game store, and the potential of having more eyes on Destiny 2. Well, it's already a bunch of eyes on it already as it is, but even more so with the power of what Epic has. Not saying that they need to, but I'm just saying, like, if they got them, holy shit. If they really want to do bad with Steam, like, that's going to be a hell of a get. So.
Well, and Valer points out in chat that Destiny 2 is already on Blizzard.net only, but since the split from Activision, which owns Blizzard, or is it vice versa? Activision owns Blizzard. Blizzard does not own Activision, or they merge.
I feel like Blizzard and Activision are in a partnership. I don't think any.
They're okay. Yeah. Point is that the split from Activision would basically allow Bungie to not be exclusive to Blizzard.net only.
Exactly. That's why if they want to transfer their game to another service or their own thing, they have to eventually at some point.
That's my point. That's my point, Anthony. Is that Bungie's going to look at their options now, and they're going to try to find the service that works best for their platform. And if it even slightly benefits them more to put it on Epic versus Steam or what the fuck ever, then yeah, they're going to go that route. But regardless of the situation, putting Destiny 3 exclusively on Epic will help Epic out way the fuck more than it will Bungie. Because Bungie's going to sell the game regardless.
That's true. It's very true. Just want to point out over there in chat saying, quote, in December 2007, Activision announced that the company and its assets would merge with fellow game developers and publisher Vivendi Games. At the time, Vivendi was best known as the holding company for the game studio Sierra Entertainment and Blizzard Entertainment. Vivendi ended having a majority.
I was having fun playing with camera stuff.
Oh, okay. Get to know Valera on that point.
Well, then I'd want to know, like, what's Bungie's attachment to Vivendi? What's like, how is that going to work? Is the split a permanent split? Is it a pseudo split? Like, there's a lot of info that we just don't know yet.
And in due time, we'll definitely find out.